So we have only one lecture to talk about reverse logistics. So hopefully you still remember what we have talked about distribution network design in the beginning of the course. So reverse logistics is just the compensation to the forward logistics. The content of the lecture is mainly based on the book chapter from the Retailer Supply Chain Management, which is an e-book. So if you're interested, you can actually download that from library, EU library, and also from an article. So the reverse supply chain for commercial returns. The agenda of this lecture is mainly about reverse logistics, or actually equally to see product return management process. So the learning objectives is to understand the product return management process or reverse logistics process, understand the challenges of the reverse logistics in retailer industry. At the same time, probably you can think a little bit more about how to integrate online retailer returns management with the omni-channel distribution context. So here is some empirical evidence about the importance of managing product returns in retailing. So now you can see in the e-commerce, at least 30% of all products ordered online are returned as compared to 8.89% in brick and mortar stores. 92% of consumers surveyed said that they will buy again if a product return process is easy, whereas 79% of consumers want free return shipping. You can also see the return rate by retailer category. So you can see the retailer category, for example, apparel, blended return rate is about 12.5% return, and auto parts is about approximately 20%, and the beauty 5%, department stores 12%, and the drug and the pharmacies 2.2%. Footwear is 15.8%. So you can see almost all the categories have to some extent significant product return. So in the supply chain network viewpoint, we can see the supply chain including the forward product flows and the reverse product flows. So the solid black lines arrows shows the forward process or product flows. So from the suppliers to the manufacturing to the distributors to the stores. And the reverse supply chain, actually you can see the dashed lines, so normally generated from the consumers back to the stores. The store can send the product back to distributor can send it to manufacturer. And the customers may also be able to send it back to the manufacturer or distributor or the dealers. So this actually may lead to a closed loop. So that's why also this type of supply chain is called closed loop supply chains. So this lecture will mainly focus on the reverse product flow. Before we see the product return process in the retailer, so we first see the types of product returns. So mainly defined by the Supply Chain Council, the Council of Supply Chain Management, it identified 3 types of product returns. So return of defective products, so that's rather easy to understand. So it's a failed products or the products cannot actually satisfy customers' needs. And then second type is called the return of an MRO, so mainly maintenance, repair, or overhaul products. So in retailer, this type includes high-value items needing repair or periodic maintenance. For the appliance, this service can be done on site. For example, you can ask for service, then the people will come to visit and fix the appliances. And for automobiles, it's performed at a dealer location or at a contract repair center. So to some extent, they may need the return of the sold products back to the set or back to the distributor or dealer. And then there is a return of excess products. And then you can see examples include unsold merchandise, goods sold on consignments, and obsolete products. So the third type basically is already lead to some kind of waste. So if you plan to send these products back to the supplier, is actually a question. So you may have other ways to dispose of products. So here the return we mainly talk about is a return of defective products or unwished. So it's not necessary, so it can be unwished. So especially the retailer, it's very often the customer order the products and not happy with that, I can just send it back. So in this diagram, you can see the flow of returned merchandise. So this slide, we only focus on the product return process. So you can see the customer, the returns will start from the customer or end users, and then they need to actually send these products back to the supplier or dealer or manufacturer for refurbish or fix or just return. And then in the different locations in supply chain, they need to actually make a decision whether this product will be sent back to resell or this actually need to be disposed. Depends on the condition of the products. So in the current retailing research, a lot of research talk about how to generate values from the returned products. For example, how could they bring the returned products back to sale as quickly as possible to reduce the time waste on the transportation, on the refurbish or repackage, and so on. And then in this network, there's a lot of issues included. For example, where the customer can send the products back to, and in which position or the location of the supply chain the product will be processed until the next step, and then which channel each stage the activity should be implemented or carried out. So that's actually a very complicated decision. There are different strategies companies can choose. As you can see in the next slides, we try to explain the three different actions may taken regarding each individual product returns. Here we just name them as 1, 2, and 3. So let's just go through the difference of these three actions. So in this three-step return process, you can see the type 1. So the end user originates the returns action appropriate to the product. So basically the product landing at the retailer, all the different the manufacturing or the original equipment manufacturer or return center operated by the manufacturer or first tier supplier, distributor, retailer, or returns service provider. So that's actually already a decision. So where the customer can return the product to. In the omni channel, we're actually talking about the customers can return the product through any channel. So in the second step, receiver processes the returns. So regardless of which player actually received the product returns, they need to actually further process the product. So, for example, they can bring the item back to the forward supply chain without modification. So you can just sell them again, or repair or refurbish the product. Most of the time, actually, this product needed to be repaired or refurbished, or at least inspected for resale. And then if that's completely failed product, then they may need to be removed from the chain or for disposal. The third step is product moves to a forward return process to disposal or to disposal. So if the product is still after a refurbish or repackage or repair, the product can still be used, then can put into the forward supply chain, continue to sell. So the passes shown included regular forward process, discount auction option, or direct shipment to end users. This requires a decision based on the action taken, available channels for return, and the nature of the product. So overall, this is again a logistics network design problem. Of course, a more flexible system requires more complex IT support or analytical support. So the most return supply chains are organized to carry out the 5 main processes or 5 main tasks. So first, product acquisition, obtaining the used product from the user, and then reverse logistics, transporting the products to the facility for inspecting, sorting, and disposition. And the third task, inspection and disposition, assessing the condition of the return and making the most profitable decisions. So here actually is a challenge task. How could you extract profit from the product returns? And then remanufacturing or refurbishing. So return the products to original inspections. And the marketing, creating secondary markets for the recovered products if it's necessary. But for most e-commerce, so maybe just bring the product back to the forward. So this task sounds very brave, but the actual realization of these different processes are quite complicated, especially they need to combine with the forward supply chain, and then scheduling and planning actually is a challenge task. Now let's try to define the reverse logistics. Reverse logistics in retailer industry refers to the process to handle the product returns. So a product is set backward in the supply chain after a point of sale, like to the store, warehouse, or manufacturer. Reverse logistics strategies for the retailer returns. So this actually also called schemes offered to the customers. So for example, prepaid shipping, for example, Boots, Zalando, or many more, Amazon. I also buy the Tennis Point and many shops. You do the prepaid shipping, or you're providing return labels, and then preparing for retailer returns, and then having a solid returns policy. So that's may need to be designed before implement the actual sales. because this matters. Consumers care about return policy. Then that's actually a challenge task to improve reverse logistics. So manufacturer and supplier agreements actually matters. So in order to streamline the reverse logistics process, the entire supply chain needs to run smoothly. So collaboration is necessary. And then in order to, you need to answer the question, how easy would it be for you to return defective merchandise to suppliers? Would your customers be able to ship directly to the supplier or cut shipping costs? And then renegotiate a more streamlined solution if you feel that improvements could be made. And transportation and logistics can also be improved. Here, actually, a lot of strategic decisions. Shall a retailer own the fleet or use a third-party logistics provider? Or they can just outsource the entire service for integrated solutions. So now, for example, DSV or we see Maersk, they all actually have provide integrated logistics solutions for companies. And then company policies, and that's what we mentioned. You need to choose a return scheme policies. So is that a free return, or actually it's a threshold related return policy, and many more. So where the customer can send the products back to, and then how long time can the customer actually get their money back? Just many questions. So here, in order to improve the reverse logistics, you need to collect the data and then analyze the performance, comparing with different policies or different strategies. At the strategic level, we need to consider how to design the reverse logistics network or process. So reverse supply chain design is a trade-off between speed and cost efficiency. A marginal value of time-based reverse reverse supply chain design strategy is shown in this table. You can see when your product has a low marginal value of time, then you actually can choose efficient supply chain or cost-efficient supply chain, so cheaper strategy. If the product's marginal value of time is high, then you should choose a responsive supply chain or reverse supply chain. Furthermore, let's see what's the difference between the efficient chain and the responsive chain. So a typical efficient supply chain is actually a centralized model. So here you can see, regardless of where the customers can return the products to, and in the end, all the returned products will be gathered in the centralized evaluation and test facility, and then this facility is responsible for restock, refurbish, parts recovery, and scrap. And then the products may come back to the forward supply chain or disposed, or sent to the discounted market. So given the centralized decision making, so the employees may be well trained, and the facility has sufficient space and capacity to handle all kinds of returns, and then the decision can also be professional and with facilitated by the technology and equipment and the professionals. Then this will make sure the entire process is actually simple and direct, and more, of course, aim at achieving cost efficiency. But on the other hand, the centralized model also requires a longer time to process. For example, the transportation may take time, and then decision making also takes time. So the entire process may be more time consuming. So that's actually normally recommended to the low marginal value of time products or returns. So when the marginal value of the returns are return of time actually high, then the best idea actually to use a decentralized model. So that actually the main difference from the centralized model is all the products are sent back to return, and then immediately all these products will be evaluated. Based on the evaluation results, then the returns will be sent for different further processings. For example, restock, they can send to resell to the back to the forward supply chain. And then if you need to test repair, then actually these products will be sent to the test and repair facility. And then after refurbishment and parts recovery, they may be sent back to forward sell again. And then if the products already failed, so cannot extract any value, then sent to scrap. So in that sense, the evaluation actually occurs at the earliest stage of the product return, and then when the product is in a good condition, it can quickly be sent back to the resell again. So that will save time. And then the scrap decisions will actually also help to save cost. Otherwise, you need to actually send back to a centralized process to actually mix with other products. Therefore, if the marginal value of time of the returns are high, so it's best to send apply this decentralized model. So in the efficient reverse supply chain, you can see have a lower operating cost and lower fixed asset investment, and then given that longer time the product will be sent back to your market, then actually you realize a lower revenue. For responsive reverse supply chain, you have actually higher operating cost, and then increased fixed assets. At the same time, you also actually achieve higher revenue because more efficient or shorter time back to the market. So this time maybe matters for the price of the revenue of your product. So now the question is, how should you balance the cost and the revenue, and then to maximize the marginal contribution margins for your business. So here, this is just a trade-off. So it's not necessarily have to be efficient centralized model or decentralized model. Can be in the middle way between using multiple facilities, but regional difference and so on. So it's due to discussion and analysis in the real business context. Actually, product returns are often ignored or not paid enough attention in the real retailing process. So recommendations for the managers actually to reconsider the product returns, especially treat returns as perishable assets, not simply a waste stream. So how to actually extract value from the product returns is actually a interesting topic. And then evaluate the priority of the return process. Elevate the priority of the return process. So speed up, close the loop on the supply chain, establish a high priority for the returns process and make it a supply chain responsibility. So product return indeed including this relevant with sustainability, lean operations, and reduce waste and environmental relevance and so on. And then make time the essential performance matrix. So because returns are perishable assets, the percentage of the asset value recovered is directly proportional to the speed of the recovery and disposition of returned product. So definitely think about what type of products should be processed more efficiently, and what products actually, what kind of returns can actually wait. So use time value to design the right reverse logistics or supply chain. Although the cost of operating the returns process increase with the decentralization, this cost can easily be offset by the gains from speed recovery of perishable assets. But this offset rate actually needs actually data support. Use technology to achieve speed at lower costs. Technology built into the product made early product differentiation or pre-pullment easier to carry out in the field, reduce the need for centralized evaluation. So that's more like artificial intelligence related product designs. Here is several benefits of an effective reverse logistics process. So improve the customer loyalty. So this actually directly affect consumers' purchase perception. Is good or bad. Reduce the support costs. Well-designed reverse logistics actually also means cost efficiency. Increase transaction speed. So it's if you have the responsive reverse supply chain, of course you increase the transaction speed, and then growing market share, increase the revenue or increase the sales. Sustainability, that's actually almost most important relevance with reverse logistics. So reduce the waste and reduce time, and also reduce transportation. And then lower warehousing costs. So if the good product return management may actually reduce the inventory levels. And then maintain the customer service. And then or even improve the customer service levels and increase the return of the investments. At the beginning of the lecture, we actually talk about the distribution network design in the omni-channel retailing environment. So now we actually just reflect on the omni-channel retailing practices. When the product return is considered in the omni-channel, so we talk about all the products can be returned in any channels. So that's actually what we emphasized about omni channels. They actually brings a challenge to your distribution network as well. It more or less requires integration of the forward and backward supply chain. Otherwise, if you think about in every channel, you separate forward and backward logistics, then it requires actually two types of systems. It's almost uncopable situation. So now you can see a lot of barriers. In this diagram, you can see the blue blocks are the management barriers, and then the orange blocks actually operational barriers, and the green blocks are the financial barriers, and then the yellow block is the IT barrier. So you can see here we can actually pick up several management barriers. And now you can see the entire chart also include three steps, three sections in this issue. The first is a retain channel access. There's actually one challenge process, and then physical and financial balance, that's another part, and then process efficiency. We actually do not talk a lot about physical and financial balance, so we actually focus on the operational efficiency, so we can pick up some barriers to have a chat. So let's see first the management barrier in the retain channel retain channel access section. You can see the 1.4 lack of know-how. So and then on the bottom we have a segmentation of channel integration. So that's all the challenge tasks. So and then in the physical and financial balance, we have a difficulty of measuring the retained volume, difficulty to consolidate incorporations of online and offline stores, and then we have the store forecast imbalance, and then unbilled product outbound, and then in the process efficiency section, you can see we have a difficulty with receiving orders, difficulty in managing the processing order, and the negative customer perception of the purchasing process. So that's related to the direct and reverse flow integration. And then we have the return and the product separation. And then we have processing time, negative perception of clients about processing time. So myself has a very bad experience with Birka. Last month, I ordered a product, and then they failed to deliver the product to me, and they promised to deliver again, but they never delivered. And then I had to call many times. After 6 weeks, I finally got somebody know where the product was returned to, and then now I'm still waiting for the reimbursement of the payment. So that's a very bad experience with Birka Deco. But that's actually a common issue. The business need to check the orders through the entire chain, both forward chains and backward chains. Backward chains are often ignored or not paid enough attention. And for the operational barriers, you can also quickly see in the retain channel processes, for example, 1.5, difficulty in incorporating the returned good to the store inventory, and then limited available services, lack of visibility during the return. So that's actually basically related to the product check. So after the products are returned to the retailer, given customer may return the product to any channels, so they need to actually bring the products back to proper position or location in the supply chain in order to be inspected for further resale. And then you can also see operational challenges, including product restocking, processing of a product in good condition. So this actually discussion is from a research article. So I put this article in the further reading. I think it's very interesting for you to go through this article and understand better in the case context about reverse supply chain or product return management in omni-channel retailings. So here you can see this actual article about barriers in omni-channel retailing returns, a conceptual framework. In case you may face to this type of job, so you can actually always use this paper to understand the practical challenges. And then there are a couple of discussion questions you can think about. Is product return can be forecasted? Should product return management be considered in the lean distribution? And how?